So this is Christina and Aman, and they were able to retire by the time they were 40 by following a methodology called as FIRE method. FIRE simply means financial independence, retire early. It's an ongoing craze. Everyone wants to retire by their second birthday and they keep on Googling stuff like how to retire early, whether I should be following FIRE method, this, that. So on this video, I'm going to explain you 3 critical points. First, what exactly is FIRE or financial independence, retire early? Second, can Indians follow the FIRE movement and retire early in the truest sense? So I will do an honest comparison there, whether it can be done by Indian citizens or not. Third and finally, I will talk about some actionable insights that you need to keep in mind in order to target an early retirement and what are the challenges that you might face along the way. So super important video. In case you are planning an early retirement, please make notes and also press the like button. It will help this video get out to more people. So 2 critical points before we kickstart the video. So first is that what gives me credence or credibility to talk about early retirement, because by the time I was 30, I was able to somewhat secure my finances even before I got started on YouTube. I'm not saying this to boast. I'm actually saying it to warn you because I'm not completely retired as of now. So this entire debate of FIRE movement, according to me, has a lot of negative aspects also, which I will talk about in a realistic sense. Second key point, that we have an oversimplistic viewpoint about retirement. So basically what we assume is that once I say the word retirement, it means that you're not doing anything beyond that point. No, according to me, retirement simply means that you have control over your finances and control over your time. You don't need to run from morning to evening to make money. That is what retirement according to me means. So that is the definition of financial freedom, so to say, according to me, and that is what we are going to focus on this particular video. So let us kickstart the video, and also a very quick shout out to our sponsors for today, which is Ditto. It is a wonderful platform for buying term insurance and health insurance. I have personally purchased my insurances from Ditto because they have an excellent service where you can go and speak with insurance experts for free, absolutely without any cost, and understand your insurance requirements. So you can check the links in the description box to schedule that free phone call. So first and foremost, let us quickly understand that what is the meaning of FIRE or financial independence, retire early. So the concept of FIRE started somewhere in 1990s, and a range and series of books have been written on it. One of the earliest books on this topic was Your Money or Your Life. Then there was a very famous book called as the 4-Hour Work Week. It was written by Tim Ferriss, again a very wonderful book that you could consider reading. And a lesser known fact is that Mr. Mark Cuban, who is one of my absolute favorite entrepreneurs, he also wrote a book. So I would encourage all of you to figure out what that book is and type out your answer in the comment box. So a series of different books were written on this particular topic, and the essence of the discussion boils down to following 3 simple points. So first and foremost, you need to work hard, you need to work smart, and you need to save a lot of money in case you are planning to retire early, whatever that age is, 30, 40, 50, whatever you pick that number as. At that point in time, you should be roughly saving between 50% to 70% of your entire income. Now, how did I get this number of 50 to 70%? If you read these bunch of different books, that is the number that they outline. Therefore, I am giving that as a quantitative target. So this is literally step 1, that work hard, work smart, save a lot of money. Second key aspect of the FIRE movement is that you need to invest sensibly in low risk options. For example, these could be fixed deposits, these could be index funds, and these could be series of other different investment instruments that are somewhat lower risk and are still giving you decent returns. Do fixed deposit give good returns? It really depends from time to time. Right now, fixed deposits give really bad returns. But the FIRE methodology tells us that you need to figure out instruments where you can invest sensibly and make a decent return. Now, what that decent return is, can I give you a quantitative estimate? The answer is yes. Ideally, whatever return you are making, it should be at least equal to the inflation rate in the economy. For example, right now, the inflation rate in India is hitting roughly 7 to 8%. So if you are investing in fixed deposit, then is that sensible methodology according to the FIRE movement? The answer is no. So you must pick asset where you are making returns at least in line with inflation. Then comes the third and the final part of the FIRE methodology, which is around living frugally. This is something that Mark Cuban has put wonderfully well in his book. Which book? You let me know in the comment box. So in that book, Mark Cuban simply says that you must live frugally like a student. For example, if your total income is 200,000 US dollars in the US, then the maximum amount of money that you get to spend every year is how much? 4% of 200,000 US dollars, which comes out to be 8,000 US dollars. If you are living in India and if you are making, let's say 20 lakh rupees, then 4% of 20 lakh rupees is how much? You calculate and let me know. Now you will have a counter question that, okay, you know what? Okay, 20 lakhs, 4% of 20 lakhs is a very small amount. How will I live with it? No. So this is the total portfolio that we are speaking about. So for example, if you're 20 and you plan on retiring by 50, then you have 30-year period to create a nest. So create that nest and whatever that nest amount is. So let's say hypothetically you are able to earn 5 crore, right? And at 50, you can start withdrawing 4% of that entire nest amount. So it will come out to be a big number. Now, all these things are fine and they look wonderful on Excel spreadsheet that, okay, I'm saving like 50% of my income. I'm living like frugally. I'm also investing properly and making Excel gains of 10-12%. But there are series of challenges that are associated with executing this FIRE movement methodology. Now, I do not mean to scare you and I do not want to paint a negative picture. I'm genuinely trying to tell you the reality associated with FIRE movement, and I'm going to systematically prove it to you why it is so hard to execute this FIRE movement and what is it that you can actually focus your attention towards. So this section becomes extremely important. So there are 3 challenges at play when you're trying to execute the FIRE movement and the situation is getting from bad to worse. So the 3 challenges are that number 1, right now savings is becoming really hard. What it is, I'll explain it in a minute. Second, even investing is getting harder by the day. Third and finally, living frugally has become almost impossible in this day and age. Okay, so let me prove these points by giving you some relevant, practical, easy to understand examples and tell me in the comment box that if you agree with these examples or not. So first and foremost, let us talk about savings and let us quickly discuss as to why it is getting harder and harder to save money. Pick your parents' example. So for example, my parents, when they built their house, they purchased a raw land and they built that house on top of that. I'm sure that many of the people who are watching this video, their parents would also have done the same. That they would have purchased kacha land and then they would have hired contractors and got that house built on their own. So the cost of construction of a house previously, even in real terms, if you compare it today, was much inexpensive. Pick second example that you tell me how much expenses our parents undertook when they were getting married vis-a-vis the type of expenditure people undertake when they are getting married now. There's like pre-wedding shoot, post-wedding shoot, pre-wedding shoot, after honeymoon shoot, before honeymoon shoot. There are like so many shoots after shoots after shoots. So as a result, all the expenses just pile up. Now, why am I picking the example of constructing a house? Marriage, because these are major milestone in anyone's life and the real kharcha of these expenses have gone up. So as a result, it is becoming harder and harder to save. Think about it from a different viewpoint that a person these days might be working for 15-20 years, but they would not be able to construct a proper house. So that is a situation which is very bad, and genuinely just by observing people around you and the economic situation around us, I'm sure that all of us would agree that the process of saving is getting harder and harder by the day given all the economic demands. So basically this kills the first step of the FIRE movement. Now let us talk about the second step of the FIRE movement, which is around investing money. So what is the meaning of investment? Meaning of investment simply means that you are taking a risk with your capital. For example, if you are investing in the mutual fund market, then what are you doing? You are taking risk with your money in expectation of a higher return. Similarly, when you are investing in something that starts with C and ends with O, then you end up going to a war with crypto critics. Okay, I'm just joking. Please don't take it seriously. But yes, here is the important message that these days it is getting harder and harder by the day to invest. Why am I saying this? So let me give you 3 quick examples to demonstrate this point. So the first story is of 2020. So basically you had a lot of people who believed in this FIRE methodology. They saved, they invested, they lived very frugally, they collected a bunch, they created that nest. Let's assume that they were able to save 2 crore rupee by the time they were 60. They thought that, you know what, enough money for us. We are going to put this in a fixed deposit and we are going to retire. Then what happened in 2020? COVID crisis broke out, government stepped in and they started printing crazy amount of money. Now you would say that, okay, how does that impact retired people? It impacted retired people a lot. So let me demonstrate this by taking you through the math. So the math is as follows, that let's assume that the total retirement nest was 2 crore rupee and fixed deposit rates were 7% at the time. And then after COVID, because a lot of money was printed, they decreased the fixed deposit rates to 6% because government wanted everyone to spend the money. They themselves were printing so much money. Why? So that people could spend it more. So of course they decreased the FD rates and you can go and check it out also. And this number fell easily from 7% to 6%. Now you will say that, okay, you know what, 1% difference. What big difference is this? This is huge difference. Why? Because think about it this way, that 7% of 2 crore is 14 lakh. Now here 6% of 2 crore is 12 lakh, right? So what is the difference? Which is approximately 2 lakh divided by 14. So that is 1/7, which is around 14% change in your income level. So just because of that basic change in fixed deposit rate, a lot of old people suffered who were planning their early retirement. Lot of pension funds lost a lot of money because debt was not giving adequate returns. Even now, if you go and check the debt returns, it is really frugal and really bad. So again, put yourself in the shoe of a person who was planning for this FIRE movement for the last 20-30 years. 2020 COVID-like situation hit and their standard of living fell by how much? 14% a year. So that is the problem in terms of doing Excel-based investments vis-a-vis investments in real life. Now you will say that, you know what, okay, these old people could have invested better. They could have explored better option. Okay, so this brings us to example number 2, which is currently where we stand. We are sitting in 2022 and you tell me what are some of the great investment options right now. Number 1, you will say, I will go put my money in fixed deposit. You are losing money. Number 2, you will say, I will go and invest my money in giant stocks. So take a look at the performance of something like Amazon, Apple, which are the biggest companies on earth. They have lost their share price by up to 35-40% also. So we are living in absolutely crazy times that bonds are not giving returns, equities are not giving returns, cryptos are not getting returns, and people who have invested in the stock market or any sort of market as of now, they are sitting on losses and they have to witness and absorb the dance of everyday volatility. It sounds great in theory that, you know what, stay invested, but how many of normal investors who were planning for this FIRE movement would have that level of conviction? Because again, think about it, that normal retail investors would not have that level of patience. They might not know about that much finance. When they start seeing their portfolio go in red, they will panic. And many of them have gotten out already. So hypothetically, again, working through our previous example of 2 crore rupee, after taking a loss and booking your losses might actually become 1.5 crore rupee. Now you will say that, you know what, Akshat, all these type of situations always come. What is so special about it now? Because whenever you are investing your money, risk is always there. So even our parents took a lot of risk in terms of investing their money. We are also taking a lot of risk in terms of investing our money. So why are you creating such a ruckus around it? Okay. So let me prove it to you by using example number 3, which is around fixed deposit. So here there are 2 charts in front of you. So one is around the fixed deposit rate and second is the inflation rate. For example, if you take a look at 1997, you will see that inflation in India was roughly 8%. And if you go and if you check the fixed deposit rate in 97, it was easily around 10 to 11%. And if you do this mathematics before 2005-2006 data, majority of the times the fixed deposit returns were higher than the inflation rate. Now, why is that such a big thing? It is a massive thing because in order to save money for which you had already worked hard, you had to take very little risk because fixed deposits were giving you higher returns than the inflation rate. Right now, what is the situation? Right now, the situation is that fixed deposit rates are 5%, inflation is 8%. So if you go and put your money in fixed deposit, you are losing 3% for sure. So you are not able to invest in less risky assets. Now you will say that, Akshat, okay, this is about fixed deposit discussion, but what about index fund? Because every book I read, for example, I read Psychology of Money and Morgan Housel said that, hey, I invest in index fund. Even you invest your money in index fund. Many people are saying that let's invest our money in index fund. Okay, so here is the fact about finance that if normal people, normal retail investors are putting their money in bulk in any asset class, rich people will figure out a way to squeeze that money out. Now, has that started happening for index funds already? The answer is no. But since here we are doing perspective planning, we are thinking about our future at least 20-30 years down the line, then is index investing going to give bulletproof results? The answer is no. There will be some method that will be designed which will decrease the return of normal small retail investors. And just to show you some data that right now index funds are hitting their peak point in the US, approximately 71% of investors are moving towards passive funds over active funds. So passive funds are index funds. These are Nifty 50, Sensex, S&P 500 type of funds, and majority of American investors are investing there. Previously in the US, a lot of people used to put their money in debt and they used to make very good returns. And now debt has become a very underperforming instrument. Right now, I don't mean to panic you, but the simple point that I'm trying to drive home through this conversation is that please be on a lookout of subtle changes that are happening in any particular asset class. If a certain asset class is being jacked up, if people are saying that, you know what, index fund is the best thing in the world to do, it will never fall, this, that, please do not believe it. Please use your brain. Please do a little bit of analysis. If small people start making returns in massive numbers, then how will rich people make returns? That is my simple question to you. Now, this brings us to the third and final step of the FIRE movement, which is around living a frugal life, or in the words of Mark Cuban, living like a student. So these days, even the government is pushing you to spend money. So if you don't believe me, so there was a recent announcement that was made by RBI where they are linking credit cards to UPI payments. Now, why do you think that credit cards are being linked to UPI payments? Because the businesses, governments, they want you to spend your money more. So basically, if you look at the entire aggregate situation, what is happening? That you are unable to save more. Why? Because everything, cost of marriage, cost of education, cost of building a house has gone up like crazy. Second, you are unable to invest. Even for making inflation adjusted return, you have to go and invest your money in mutual funds, which is absolute madness that you are taking so much risk just to meet inflation. And third and finally, whatever little money we are left with, even there, we are nudged to spend it more and more. Otherwise, there is no reason to make and offer so many conveniences, even from the government side, that you know what, okay, hey, take like small credit loans also, link your credit card also, do this also, do that also. I'm not saying that this move has no advantages. I'll make a separate video because then our conversation will get very long. But for now, you need to think about the fact that a lot of credit card companies, BNPL companies, even the government is pushing the credit card economy. It might be relevant for a lot of people, not against it. But if you are planning an early retirement, you need to acknowledge the practical challenges associated with the FIRE movement. So this brings us to the final section, that if you want to achieve early retirement, what is it that you should be doing? And is there something that can be done, or is there an optimistic picture that I can paint? So I can talk about how you can deal with the practical challenges that I had highlighted, and there are 3 pieces of advice that I will give you. First and foremost, you must learn how to control cash flows. Cash flows are much more important than just putting your money in a bank account. So let's understand cash flow by using an example. So let's say that I am buying a lot of commercial properties. Now those commercial properties give me a rent every month. So that is a cash flow for me. Now let's imagine a scenario in the economy when the inflation hits very high numbers. Now what do you think is going to happen to those shops? Can I increase the rent adjusted to inflation? The answer is yes. That 100% I can increase the rent as per the inflation. So because I control the cash flow, I am able to adjust my income. Now that is just one example. For example, if you run an online digital business, then can you increase the price of the product in case there is a general increase in inflation in the economy? The answer again is yes, you can definitely do it. A classic case in point, or a classic example that I give here is of Hindustan Unilever, that it keeps on increasing the price of their product. In fact, even in the later half of 2020, early half of 2021, later half of 2021, they kept on increasing their prices. So similarly, if you control cash flows, then you are able to win from inflation. Second key point, please understand what hard assets are. I had made a separate video of what hard assets are. According to me, there are 3 good hard assets right now. One is real estate, one is gold, one is Bitcoin. So you can go and check the video out and take positions in hard assets. This is very, very important, and this is personally my strategy, that I'm investing a lot of money in hard assets. I had always been doing it, but a large share of my FIRE money goes to these hard assets. Third and finally, you must improve your financial acumen and learn more about finances, because finance and investing is getting more and more complicated by the day, and you must at least know the basics of swing trading. Why is that important? Because right now, for example, the index is moving sideways, and I've been saying it on my channel for the last 6 months now that Nifty is going to move sideways, and that is precisely what is happening, that we have been moving from that range of 15,500 to approximately 18,200, 300 range. So if you know how to swing trade, then you can swing trade a safe asset, which is called as index investing, and make money in the short term. This is where I think sensible FIRE movement is heading. Given how complex the world has become, I don't think that simple FIRE strategies are going to work out. You need to adopt that second order thinking and refine your skill set in order to save, invest, and live off your savings. It is becoming critical by the day, so please learn more about it. And also check out Ditto. It is very important that you take insurance. Given how tumultuous the world has become, providing safety, both from finance, health, and family perspective, becomes critical and important for all of us. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please press the like button and share it with your friends. It's a super important video, and I will see you soon.